I'm delighted to invite our next keynote speaker, Dr. Muhammad Imran. He is Associate Professor at Qaid-e-Azam University, Islamabad, and is expert in microbial genomics, proteomics, food, and dairy microbiology. He completed his PhD and postdoctorate from University of Caen-Loire, Normandy, France. He was also a Fulbright Visit Scholar on Human Gut Microbiome, Massachusetts Institutes of Technology, Cambridge, USA. Currently, he is working on conserving and understanding our microbial heritage as part of the Global Microbiome Conservancy Project, Massachusetts Institutes of Technology, USA. I invite you, sir, to enlighten us.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Mariam, for introducing myself, and I really appreciate the talk by Dr. Yusuf Zafar Saab. He actually presented in very detail about the development of biotechnology sector in Pakistan. Sir, we really appreciate your efforts in this regard. Also appreciate the organizers of this seminar. I'm going to talk about a very specific topic, that is like how we can have impact of these beneficial microbiota on the food production and health. So basically, microbial fermentation is known since decades, like even since centuries, you can say. Even 300,000 BC, people knew about the importance of these fermented food products. And they were producing that at very larger scales. And basically, what was the objective here? You know, the food is one of the most important part of our life, and that is very essential part, of course. And the basic objective of the food fermentation is to preserve the nutrients and to extend the shelf life of the food. So that is the major challenge. As Dr. Saab already told, that major thing is maybe not the food, it is like biotechnology is not only involved in the enhancement of the food production, like in order to increase the soil fertility, and we use the biopesticides and things like that. But we also are very concerned with like lowering down the food spoilage. So fermentation is one of the technique where we can preserve the nutrients and we can extend the shelf life of the food. So, but it's not limited here. Like microbial role is not only like they are going to ferment the food and convert it into the value-added product. They also improve the taste, and they also increase like its vitamin contents and the digestibility. So it's in very earlier time, people used the slogan like McIntosh. He used like the prolongation of the life was, he associated it with the consumption of the fermented foods. So basically what fermented food actually have and why they are unique than the normal foods, like we are consuming the milk and other food products on daily basis. But what make the fermented food unique is it's their nutritional value and it's their flavor and aroma. But why that flavor and aroma is distinct? It is because of the presence of a huge number of the microbiota in it. And most prominent one, those are very much involved in the fermentation process, are the lactic acid bacteria. And lactic acid bacteria are being used as largely due to their high nutritional and therapeutic properties. So basically, these microbiota, they play a very key role here. So as I am talking about the traditional fermentation, at the same time, like the people actually ferment the foods even before the knowledge of the microbiology. That means these microbiota, those are associated with these fermented foods, are unique one. Like they are ecologically very much evolved here. Like they evolve ecologically. That is not what we actually did, and we actually inoculate them. What is happening in the industrial fermentation, but they themselves evolve ecologically. So if we look at the traditional fermented foods in the world, they have a huge market. And you know, if that traditional fermentation was established even before the knowledge of microbiology, and still they are in use. Like a lot of fermented foods, like even on our local market, you can see that they pickles and the naan, they are very, very popular here. And people are not going to like shift easily from these traditional fermented foods to the industrial one. If I always ask the question in my class, like how many people actually like the traditional kunda dahi and how many are actually using the Nestle. So statistic also told this, like that only by like 5% market is captured by the processed dahi, and all the other market is with the local dahi, and that is produced very traditionally with the, you know, the native technology. There's no technology at all. In fact, that is with the traditional knowledge. But people are very conscious about it, and they are traditional, and these products are traditionally known as therapeutic. But here, what makes them unique is the complex diversity. The complex diversity that evolve ecologically. So, so the industrial products, they have like defined cultures. Like we have to select the strain and we have to monitor its safety and aroma. But on the other hand, I'm sorry. But on the other hand, the industrial products, they are very much defined. But non-industrial products like traditional one, they don't have a defined culture or defined sort of technology. Their sources, like as we are living. So here the message is like as we are living in an ecosystem. So microorganisms are also living in that ecosystem. So why native and artisanal products are important? Because they are being produced in the same ecosystem as we are living. Okay, and there is a reshuffling of the microbiota between the food ecosystem and the human gut. So that make them unique and that make them selective actually. Okay, for example, if we look at this, as I already told, like the traditional dahi is maybe more than 90% population is actually consuming this traditional dahi. That's mean, and that is also known as traditional biotherapeutic to treat the digestive issues, including the infections. But at the same time, if we look at the ground reality, how that traditional product is being produced, or that is so complex, like you cannot say that it is unsafe, because with the dirty hand, dirty clothes, with the no safety at all, at a corner shop, people used to inoculate the remaining part of their product and then they produce the things. But still in our mind, we already know, like one of the corner shop has a unique taste. Why? That is what is happening ecologically in terms of the microbiota. And even with the modern science, people know like it will be dangerous, like it can transfer some of the pathogen, but still they will go for that because traditionally they know that it is a therapeutic product, because that has a tremendous sort of the properties. And they also have associated complex microbial consortia. In last 5 years, we actually tried to figure it out, like what is unique in our local dahi, which make it unique from rest of the world, yogurt products or the fermented milk products. And that was its uniqueness in the microbiota. The yogurt can be made by only inoculating two microorganisms, the lactic acid bacteria, Streptococcus thermophilus and Lactobacillus bulgaricus. But we cannot produce this typicity of local dahi without having the traditional culture. And that traditional culture is made up of 150 bacterial strains and almost 50 fungal strains. And that is the power of the genomic knowledge nowadays we can apply. So one of my PhD students worked on it, and we established like this uniqueness in the taste, flavor, and aroma, and the biotherapeutic properties that give it the status as a probiotic food is due to this complex microbial communities in it. Similarly, so the complex microbial communities, handling of the complex microbial community is a big challenge in the world. So whenever we talk about like development of some starters or things like that, we have to keep in mind, like this product cannot be reproduced without the native knowledge and without the native cultures. So you cannot import the culture for making the dahi. You can import the culture maybe for making the yogurt. And one of the things which I'm giving the message here, that is the compatibility of these fermented foods with our gut. We will talk about it later. Another example on which we are working was the traditional fermented cereal products like naan. This cereal product, the naan, which is also produced very traditionally and without taking care of any safety or any, the hygienic quality, but still it have a unique microbial consortia, and that will be, there are a fraction of the people in the population, those have the gluten intolerance. And luckily this, and we also have the phytic acid issue in the wheat products, because the phytic acid can bind the lot of minerals. So if this naan was produced traditionally with the traditional culture and uncontrolled sort of indigenous fermentation, when we test it on, how actually gluten have impact on our gut, because gluten actually give the leaky gut, and that leaky gut is due to the breakdown of the junction between the CACO2 cells in our intestines. So when we check, like we compare both, like control, like without fermentation by our traditional naan culture, and when we compare it with the non-traditional, like normal food. So what we looked at by the cellular culture, like these junctions were intact, like the gluten was there, but gluten was not like deteriorating it. Why? Because this is one of the, just one peptide chain, peptide of maybe 30, or I think it's 20 amino acids. Those are actually involved in the in this disorder. So those 20 amino acids peptide chain were degraded successfully by the application of this consortia as a starter culture. And when we looked at the by the genomic approaches to check like whether this consortia is different than in these two cultures, and when we saw at the level of the diversity was very high in case of the consortia that have like positive or no impacts on the monosphere of the CACO2 cells. That's mean and this was not an easy way to achieve it. Even internationally, people are trying hard to develop some cultures in order to treat the diseases. So if we are fermenting the food traditionally, that have health or the nutraceutical benefits on it, but that cannot be achieved maybe by just supplementing some of the the probiotics only. So this is how actually the traditional fermented foods, they are having a positive impact on our gut. But at the same time, if we look at the data internationally, like the industrialized countries all over the world, they are nowadays suffering more and more of the non-communicable diseases. And these non-communicable diseases include the cardiovascular diseases, heart attacks, like the obesity, and a lot of other issues, including the depressions. And Pakistan is continuously like heading towards the toward these countries. Like we are shallow now, but maybe in coming year we will be red, as more and more people are like using the more and more the junk foods and more the industrialized foods. Maybe more of this all is actually the gift of the urbanization. What happening is, like with urbanization, we need to preserve more food, because food have to be transferred from the farm in the rural areas or the suburbs of the cities into the urban areas. And 2050, maybe the 70% of world population will be urbanized. So keeping in view these challenges, like country is at the edge of it. So what is actually happening here, like these non-communicable diseases basically are strongly linked with the microbiome. The microbiota that is living in our intestines. So what is happening with the industrialization? We are making the food smarter. This much food and this food, almost triple the energy in this food because of the higher energy density. And this is what is the gift of the industrialization we have. But at the same time, it is it is user friendly, like consumer can consume it very easily. Maybe it is good, and you have the advertisement at the same time that is supporting these food. But on the other hand, we have this problem, like the technology is improving, but the human physiology is not getting smarter. So maybe this is people are associating it with the toxicity, with the incidence of the diseases, with the deficiency of the nutrients. But at the same time, we are actually spoiling our gut. And that spoilage of the gut is successfully established by one of the consortia I'm working with in US. And we can easily distinguish between, differentiate between a gut that is present in the non-industrialized country and the gut that is in the industrialized country, with the use of a lot of antimicrobial agents, a lot of antibiotics in the food, and a lot of preservation of the food. So you can see a clear difference between the gut microbiota of the smarter one and the gut microbiota of the healthy one, but we call it healthy. In reality, it is not the health actually. So this is the difference lie in the gut microbiota here. So a lot of the factor actually shape the gut and its host health, which is diet is more important. The immune system, neurological system, these microbiota basically also have impact on our metabolism, and that is actually leads to the insulin sensitivity issue, type 2 diabetes. So basically, when the gut microbiota alters with these all the factors I am talking about, the industrialization, the use of antibiotic, and use of the junk food with the rich energy, they ultimately will have an impact on our immunology or CNS, like people will have more depression issue, and the behavioral issues and the metabolic diseases will be very high. So the basic thing that actually modulates the gut microbiota and the non-communicable diseases, why they are actually happening, this is due to the maybe like IBDs, colon cancer, type 2 diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, malnutrition, Parkinson, autism. These all are established now. It is very well established that they are associated with the composition of the gut microbiota. So, but it is not an easy task because guts microbiomes are living inside us, and they cannot be killed by using some of the atom bomb or some sort of the high dose of antibiotics. Because if you use the high dose antibiotic, you will not only kill like the bad microbiota, but at the same time you will kill the good microbiota, and that is not possible at all. So what is the alternative solution to dysbiotic gut? That this dysbiotic gut is significantly associated with all these disorders we are now witnessing all over the world. That is the natural source of the probiotics. So this is the only way where what was used by our ancestors, and with industrialization we are actually getting away from them. So traditional fermentation, of course, I'm not like saying like that you have to do the traditional fermentation in the traditional way. We may have to do the traditional fermentation on the scientific way, but and scientifically we have to produce the local culture, and on what we are actually working on, and hopefully we will achieve like some sort of the consortia or some sort of the microbiota with the good qualities. Those can be used to treat these diseases, but this is not an easy challenge, and that cannot be done alone. Maybe we need to have more, the meetings and seminars like this. And as Dr. Saab already told, like on the last slide, like this is not just for talking or to telling the stories. It is like to invite the others to have more brainstorming. It's like how we can like develop the traditional things, and where we have to apply the scientific knowledge and the sharing of the knowledge, of course, and then the collaboration in the scientific achievements. With this, I thank you all for your time, and thank you very much, and thanks to the organizers once again, especially Dr. Chakra and her team. Thank you. This is all from my side.
Thank you so much, sir, for this informative talk.